Tonight we're going to start with the Baha'i faith. The Baha'i faith. This might not get much publicity. It's not something that I have been familiar with. I've heard of it. It might be unfamiliar to most of us. Who here knows something about the Baha'i faith?
Never heard of it.
Anybody? Never even heard of it. Who had heard of it? Okay, a couple of us, few. Who heard of it before you saw the book? Yeah. Just a couple of us. But I tell you what, when you look closer at this religion, there's a very significant link to last days one world religion. In other words, as I've just looked into this, and even an overview, it's not going to be hard for these people to accept the Antichrist. I mean, not anywhere, not even the least bit difficult. But we're not getting into the beliefs of the Baha'i faith tonight. We're going to look at some history and facts. So fascinating history, really, in its connection with Islam, actually. It is called the Baha'i faith. It's not called Baha'i. So the actual name of the religion is Baha'i faith. And the Baha'i is the English pronunciation. And from what I understand, the more accurate Arabic rendering would be Baha'i. Baha'i. So similar. We say Baha'i, and Arabs might say Baha'i. And the adherents are actually called Baha'is. That's what they're called. Just like Christians for Christianity, it'd be Baha'is in the Baha'i faith. It has an estimated 8 million adherents around the world, so it's not anywhere close to the size of the major religions such as Christianity, Islam, Judaism, and I'm not sure off the top of my head how many Hindus there are. I would guess there's a lot more Hindus than this as well, considering that's the dominant religion in India, or even Buddhism. So Baha'i faith is not something that is as well known to people. It's not as large as some of the other major religions in the world, and it is one of the newer or newest independent religions. And when we say independent religions, we're talking about a religion that doesn't fall under an umbrella such as something like Christianity. So things like religions like Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormonism, even though we would look at them as separate, they still somewhat fall under, in a very, very broad sense, fall under the umbrella of Christianity in a lot of people's eyes because of their belief in Jesus and their version of Jesus. Now this number of 8 million adherents is as of 2024, according to Wikipedia. The number could possibly be as low as 5 million, but that's likely an outdated number. So you could say between 5 and 8 million. But the 5 million number was, I think, used back in the 90s, so I'm sure it has got grown since then. It was founded by Mirza Hussein Ali Nuri, and he lived from 1817 to 1892. He was given the title Baha'u'llah, which means the manifestation of the glory of Allah. And we'll talk about that, and probably next week I think we'll get into that a little more. He claimed to be divine and the most recent in a line of messengers from Allah. So it's interesting, Baha'i faith is not something that you would initially right off the bat associate with Islam based on what its teachings are right now. And as a matter of fact, for most of its history, they were opposed by the Islamists, even though they came from Islam. So as I said, it has Islamic roots. Modern adherents consider it to be a universal faith, but it really is an offshoot of Shiite Islam. But its modern iteration is one that they consider it a universal faith, that it's just kind of along the lines of all the other religions that have come along, and all the religions are, have had a part in things, and let's all get along and have one world together. That's kind of mantra. That's their foundation, their principles. But it's an offshoot of Shiite Islam, which is the opposite of that. That's why the Shiites didn't like it. And they disagreed with it very strongly. Islam was started by Muhammad, who was born in 570, and after his death in 632, the Muslims chose Abu Bakr as caliph or successor. He was succeeded by Umar, Uthman, and Ali. Within 100 years of Islam's founding, a group of Muslims believed that the successor who rules the Muslim world must be chosen by Allah himself instead of the people. This sect is called Shia or Shiites, Shiite Islam. So Shia Islam, or the people are called Shiites. And so they are actually more, they're most of the time considered to be the most passionate and conservative of the Muslims, even though they're in the minority in Islam. I think one number had them at maybe 10% of Muslims are Shiite. Sunni is by far the majority of Muslims. They are the majority in Iran and Iraq. So maybe there's some significance as to why Iran is popping up all the time in the world stage and Iraq is there. You know, there's something about the Shiites and their beliefs and their version of Islam that sets them apart. What you see is Saudi Arabia and a lot of other Muslim countries that are Sunni Muslim that have actually become more westernized in a lot of ways. But you have that gulf there. You have even the Shiites and Sunnis don't always get along. They get along on some things, but not a lot of things. And so it's interesting thinking about that. Iran and Iraq, predominantly Shiite. The split between Shia and Sunni was a result of disagreements over leadership. Shiites believe that Ali was the first legitimate successor of Muhammad as Imam, and Ali was Muhammad's cousin and son-in-law. The reason the Imam has such power in Iran is that they believe in the divine right of kings, even to the extent that their rulers are divine beings. I'm not saying all Shiite Muslims believe this, but Iran places, and this, when you know that fact, it makes more sense in the context of the news why in Iran the religious leader, the religious figure has the supreme power. Even though they have their own president, they might have someone who kind of functions as the head diplomat for the country or the president of the country that is the figurehead, but on the other hand, behind that is their supreme leader. And so that goes along with their version of Islam. And so that's the Islamic roots, but we need to be refreshed in the Islamic history and the background of that because of how it leads into the founding, the start of the Baha'i faith. So what's really significant in this is the 12th Imam. The 12th Imam. Now who's heard the term the 12th Imam? Some of you, okay. Well, not too many, just a couple of us. Shiites recognize 12 Imams, including Ali, and 10 of his descendants, and believe that they all suffered bloody deaths at the hands of the Sunnis. That's what it sounds like in the historical record. Regarding the 12th Imam, Encyclopedia Britannica says, and I'm not going to probably pronounce this name correctly, Muhammad al-Mahdi al-Hujjah, who disappeared in 878, is venerated by the Ithna Ashariya, or Twelver sect, the main body of Shiite Muslims. So they're called Twelvers. It is believed that Muhammad al-Mahdi al-Hujjah has been concealed by God, a doctrine known as Ghaiba or occultation, and that he will reappear in time as the Mahdi, a messianic deliverer. So they're looking for a deliverer. The Jews are looking for a Messiah. We're expecting Christ to come and snatch us away. But those who are in the New Apostolic Reformation or the Dominion theology that would claim to be Christians. They're actually looking for Jesus himself to come on the earth to set up his kingdom, literally. So you can see that there's the intersection of these different religions in what they're looking for. Very, very significant, I think, with last days prophecy and the appearance of Antichrist. Because the fact of the matter is, Bible-believing Christians shouldn't be looking for Christ to come and set up his kingdom immediately. We're looking to go to be with him. We know that the next one who's going to come to rule, try to rule the world, is Antichrist, not Jesus Christ. For 70 years after his disappearance, the 12th Imam communicated his will to men through leaders called Babs, which means gates in Arabic. They were considered to be channels of grace to mankind. No one succeeded the fourth Bab, which means they were cut off from direct communication with Lord of the Age. This leads the Shiites to be looking for the appearance of the 12th Imam. Oppression will end, and the earth will be filled with justice. And really what comes along with that is that there will be a one world government and religion. That's what they're looking for. Now, in their eyes, and one of the books I'm using is a kind of a guide to help me with that, put it that they believe that everybody will be Shiite, that'll be left on the earth. And but they're looking for that 12th Imam. And notice that. Earth is going to be filled with justice, oppression will end. Well, what are people looking for? They're looking for the end of oppression. They're looking for justice on earth. And they're just, hey, why can't we just get together and all get along and let's put aside our differences? And now the Shiites aren't looking for people to put aside their differences. They're looking that everything's going to be completely dominated by their 12th Imam. But it still leads to a one world government and religion. So we will cover, I couldn't remember if it was tonight or next week, but we'll cover a bit of the Baha'u'llah tonight. I'm going to read a portion of what Encyclopedia Britannica said about it. The Baha'i religion originally grew out of the Baha'i faith or sect, which was founded in 1844 by Mirza Ali Muhammad of Shiraz in Iran. He proclaimed a spiritual doctrine emphasizing the forthcoming appearance of a new prophet or messenger of God who would overturn old beliefs and customs and usher in a new era. There's that theme of a new era, a new age. So no matter what, there's a lot of different flavors of the new age, but it still all points to the same place. Though new, these beliefs originated in Twelver Shia Islam, which asserts a belief in the forthcoming return of the 12th Imam, the successor of Muhammad, who will renew religion and guide the faithful. Mirza Ali Muhammad first proclaimed his beliefs in 1844 and assumed the title of the Bab. Soon the Bab's teachings spread throughout Iran, provoking strong opposition from both the Shia Muslim clergy and the government. The Bab was arrested and after several years of incarceration was executed in 1850. Large-scale persecution of his adherents, the Babis, followed. Abd al-Baha and Shoghi Effendi Rabbani Abd al-Baha and his grandson, let me see if I can read this right. His grandson Shoghi Effendi Rabbani. Oh, I see. I have a couple things running together here. Abd al-Baha and his grandson Shoghi Effendi Rabbani. And they were in... oh, you know what? I have a little caption here. That's what I'm trying to read. I'm getting myself mixed up because it's all running together. One of the Bab's earliest disciples and strongest exponents was Mirza Hussain Ali Nuri, who had assumed the name Baha'u'llah when he renounced his social standing and joined the Babis. Baha'u'llah was arrested in 1852 and jailed in Tehran, where he became aware that he was the prophet and messenger of God whose coming had been predicted by the Bab. He was released in 1853 and exiled to Baghdad, where his leadership revived the Baha'i community. So he was Iranian, but he then ended up in Iraq. In 1863, shortly before being moved by the Ottoman government to Constantinople, now Istanbul, Baha'u'llah declared to his fellow Babis that he was the messenger of God foretold by the Bab. An overwhelming majority of Babis acknowledged his claim and thenceforth became known as Baha'is. Baha'u'llah was subsequently confined by the Ottomans in Adrianople, now Edirne, Turkey, and then in Acre in, as they put it, at Encyclopedia Britannica, Palestine, which is now Akko, Israel. Before Baha'u'llah died in 1892, he appointed his eldest son, Abd al-Baha, who lived from 1844 to 1921, to be the leader of the Baha'i community and the authorized interpreter of his teachings. Abd al-Baha actively administered the movement's affairs and spread the faith to North America, Europe, and other continents. He appointed his eldest grandson, Shoghi Effendi Rabbani, who lived from 1897 to 1957, as his successor. The Baha'i faith underwent a rapid expansion beginning in the 1960s, and by the early 21st century it had more than 180 national spiritual assemblies, which are national governing bodies, and several thousand local spiritual assemblies. After Islamic fundamentalists came to power in 1979, the 300,000 Baha'is there were persecuted by the government. And this is a picture of Abd al-Baha and Shoghi Effendi Rabbani, which is his eldest grandson, and that is who then set some things up, which we'll get into next week, as far as administratively got things a bit more organized throughout different parts of the world. So that is a picture that was from Encyclopedia Britannica, which is why I have the information up there of where it was retrieved from. And it appears that it would be also a picture that came from the Baha'i International Community, is what they call themselves, I think, officially as far as an organization. But the religion is the Baha'i faith. So tonight what I wanted to do was lay the foundation for the roots of Baha'i, where it came from. And it came out of Shiite Islam, or Shia Islam, out of Iran and Iraq. But it's turned into something more than that, where the principles of it are not, they deviate from Islam quite a bit, like I said, which is why the Shiites didn't like them, because they were more open, just open to a lot of other religions, and it's a universal. Like I said, today's Baha'is view it as a universal religion, even though it came out of Islam. So that's the foundation. That's some history of that, some facts about Baha'i faith. And what we're going to do is we'll continue in that, and we'll get into also some of their beliefs as we go along. This is not going to be as long of a section. There's not as much to say about this religion, although if we wanted to delve into all the fine details of their writings and beliefs, we could, which we will cover those, but we'll be giving an overview of those things. And but certainly an interesting history with the founding of this particular religion. So now, who knows more about Baha'i faith than what you did 20 minutes ago? Yeah, quite a bit more, right? But we'll pick up there as we move forward.